David Harris here today, master dog trainer, breeder, trainer for 30 plus years, full-time, not a hobby. This is what I do for a living. I've trained lots and lots and lots of dogs over a long period of time. And I have saved the lives of untold dogs by being able to train them effectively and solve their behavioral problems. Recently, I had a Labrador brought to me. Wonderful dog, except for the fact that he'd bitten 5 people. The last person he bit was a small child in the face, okay? So this dog did not need to be destroyed. This dog needed to be trained. And the rant, the soapbox I'm on today is this all positive reinforcement movement that is getting traction among the politically correct crowd. All positive is the only way to train a dog. If you correct a dog somehow or another, you're the devil. And this is just nonsense. Dogs correct dogs. If there's one bone and there's 2 dogs, one dog is going to say, no, this is my bone, you can't have it. And they correct each other, and it does not scar them or damage them for life. They don't need counseling. They're not going to have to go sit on a couch somewhere and get therapy because they got corrected by their buddy who said, no, it's my bone, you can't have it. Dogs are domestic animals. They're not wolves. They are domestic animals. They've been bred for over 10,000 years to accept physical training. You cannot train a cat the same way you train a dog. And there's nothing, absolutely nothing wrong with training dogs with balance. We teach with positive reinforcement. We're masters at using positive reinforcement to teach good behaviors. And the better you are at that, the less likely you're going to have to use negative reinforcement training techniques in the future. But reality is reality. In a perfect world, there would be no distractions that get your dog, to want to chase a squirrel at the park. There would not be an aggressive dog that comes and tries to beat up your dog while you're out for a friendly walk, and your dog needs to resist that temptation. In reality, all those things are out there, and there's always a bigger treat. If you teach your dog to come for a treat and there's a squirrel, the dog's going to look at that squirrel and go, woohoo, there's a bigger reward out there than mom's cookie. And that's just reality. It's reality with humans. If I were to call you up and go, hey, Mrs. Smith, this is Bob from the IRS. You got some taxes due. Now, it's okay if you don't want to pay those taxes. It's not really that important. But we'd like it if you would. That'd be the nice thing to do, to pay those taxes. Well, you're not going to pay those taxes because you don't want to. And there's no reason, there's no correction behind it, so you're not going to pay that taxes. But the truth is, you are going to pay those taxes, because if you don't, they're going to come and take your house. They're going to seize your bank account. They're going to punish you. Punishment is part of life. If you don't stop at a red light, you're going to get smashed by another car, or you're going to get a ticket, and that's what compulses you to do that. It's just part of life. You can't have an up without a down. A balanced trainer uses a full range of techniques, both positive to build an affinity. I love this behavior. I want to come to mom. And negative reinforcement to create avoidance. I hate running away. It's a bad thing. And there's just nothing wrong with negative reinforcement applied properly. Of course, there's extremes to everything. Extreme this and extreme that. We need to be somewhere in the middle with balance. A well-raised, well-trained dog can handle a correction and learn. No, I can't steal things out of the trash. No, I can't chew on lamp cords. And this will save their life. This will make them a better canine companion, and it'll enhance their life. Training is about making the dog's life better. If your dog is well behaved, he gets to go everywhere. My dogs go everywhere I go, and they go off leash, and they go without a training collar because I've got past corrections. If you're having to correct your dog for the rest of its life, something's wrong with that. You didn't do it right. If you properly use negative reinforcement, you create avoidance of a behavior. The dog says, I don't want to do that. People don't run red lights every day. And certainly people make mistakes and run red lights, and it's catastrophic, but they're not just constantly doing these behaviors to take risk. So positive reinforcement is great. If you learn the techniques and you apply the techniques, they're great. But the truth is, positive reinforcement is not all positive, because there has to be a motivation for the dog to want that treat, which means you're controlling his food. If you're controlling his food, well, what's positive about that? It's not positive, it's coercion. You're saying to the dog, if you don't come, you don't eat. That's not positive, people. That's just simply not positive. And people try to make treat training you're the most wonderful person in the world if you use only treat training. But that's just not true. You're controlling that dog's food, and if you don't control that dog's food, he's not going to come. Okay? That's reality. Give it a try. Put your bowl of food down, feed the dog all he wants, give him all the treats he wants, give him all the toys he wants, give him all the attention he wants, and then take him out in public and take the leash off and see what happens. He's going to run around and please himself. He's not going to come when you call. The only reason you can use food as a source of motivation is you have control. The dog doesn't have a credit card. He can't go buy his own food, and he looks to you for that food. That makes you the boss. So the all positive reinforcement crowd that thinks only positive reinforcement is the only way you can train dogs, and they're trying to pass legislation to say that if a dog trainer uses any kind of traditional training techniques, leash and collar techniques, that they're the devil. It's just nonsense. At one point in our history here with dogs, the politically correct crowd had gotten so much control over dogs that dogs were dying en masse. People were euthanizing dogs because of the simplest mistakes that could have been easily solved with a more balanced approach. They would rather kill a dog than correct a dog, and I think that's just a little bit of mental illness going on there, that you feel like your dog won't love you if you correct it, and that's just not true. Dogs are domestic animals. They're bred to be trained. They're bred to accept physical training. It's not a bad thing if done properly. And once again, I rarely get on a soapbox and preach, but when it comes to dogs' health, dogs' safety, dogs' lives, I hate seeing dogs put to sleep. Have you ever seen a dog wake up from being put to sleep? Put to sleep is a death sentence. You're killing your dog because you can't teach him to come. You can't teach him to quit being aggressive. You can't teach him to whatever. It's causing you to get rid of this dog. Balance training, nothing wrong with it. There's great organizations in the United States that are promoting balance training. I hope everybody gets on board with balance training and gets off of this pendulum that seems to want to swing to the all positive reinforcement movement. Legislation's being passed. It's going to damage the relationship people have with their dogs if it gets passed. So, up on my soapbox, preaching a little bit today. Sorry about that, but it's reality. Sometimes people have to preach. I know a little bit about what I'm talking about. I've saved thousands of dogs' lives by using a little bit of a correction. Let me throw an analogy at you here real quick. Imagine you took your child to the hospital. He's got a stomach ache. He's got pain in his stomach. Turns out, when the doctor examines him, he's got appendicitis. Your doctor looks at you very sad and goes, "Oh my gosh, your child has appendicitis. He's going to die." And you're like, "What? He's going to die?" And he's like, "Yeah, he's going to die. That's going to rupture and he's going to die." And you go, "What? Can't you do something? Can't you fix that?" And he goes, "Oh, sure, I could cut him open. I could take that appendix out and he'd be fine." And you're like, "Do that." And he's like, No, I can't do that. That would hurt. That would hurt him. I don't want to hurt him. Just take him home and let him die. And that's crazy. It's a crazy analogy, but I've heard all positive reinforcement trainers say that. I've literally, with my own ears, heard them say, "I could get that dog to stop that, but I'd have to correct him. And I just don't want to do that. Just put him to sleep." It's nonsense, people. Positive reinforcement's great. We love it. Everybody wants to hear yes. Yes, you're doing it right. It's a great thing. No one wants to hear no. No, you're doing it wrong. You don't want to hear that right now while I'm talking to you about all positive reinforcement. You want to believe that there are unicorns and butterflies and they all can fly around and make the dogs perfect. But the truth is, dogs are dogs, and sometimes they want to chase squirrels. Sometimes they want to eat your furniture. Sometimes they want to be aggressive to other dogs, and they need to be corrected for that behavior. It's not the end of the world. You correct them, they look at you, you pat them on the head, and let them know, "Hey, I love it when you don't do that." Balance training is the way to go. Hope you enjoyed my rant. I'm going to get off my soapbox now.